Do you care about animal welfare or food safety? I can tell you one thing, our major food producers don't. According to an article from New Food Economy's website, stunning reports emerged that USDA inspectors had failed to inspect hundreds of plants regularly, as required for 30 years. The USDA works with massive slaughterhouses that supply our demand for more meat. Many of us fail to think about what we are really eating and how it affects everything. This is one of the major reasons the USDA has been able to hide what they fear most, exposure. If you care for anything about animal welfare or food safety, then stand up to push our government to provide more laws and regulations for massive processing plants around our country. The United States meat production is mostly run by the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, and the state of the USDA is outrageously broken, and this needs to be brought to our attention. Many of us can say that we've heard about one or two stories about undercover investigators that record gruesome, heartbreaking photos and videos that expose what actually happens inside our modern-day slaughterhouses. From the pure animal abuse that these animals have suffered through, to the absolute neglect these big food chain producers have shown us. For example, according to humanfacts.org, although the U.S. technically has humane slaughter laws, they provide very little protection to pigs, cows, sheep, and goats, and do not provide any protection for chickens, turkeys, or other birds. In order to really understand this issue, we need to look at all the factors that go into the production of meat. First off, population. According to wikipedia.org, the population in America alone is set to hit
Just come on.
Cut.
I'm gonna be here forever. I have to start over.
No, shh. Alright, go back to where you were. In order to really understand this issue, we need to look at all the factors that go into the production of meat. First off, population. According to wikipedia.org, the population in America alone is set to hit 333 million by the year 2020. That means agriculture demands will be the highest ever, and already the USDA is preparing for the higher demands. How is the USDA planning to meet these high demands? Well, USDA is planning the modernization of swine slaughter inspection. Other than introducing new processing methods to slaughterhouses for pork, the USDA fully plans on speeding the process of killing swine while lowering the presence of USDA inspectors due to these new methods. This potentially means that the slaughterhouses for swine are left with what they think is best for them to process enough swine possible per day, while decreasing the amount of care for the pigs, which could lead to complete inhumane techniques in the slaughterhouse and push meat safety regulations out of the way. Big processing plants and the USDA look at animals like price tags. They look at the chain, which is the assembly line in which the meat is processed, as time. The demand for more supply is their energy. Time, energy, and money is everything for processing plants. The workers and the USDA supervisors play a part too. The more animals killed per day means speeding up and potentially neglecting food safety regulations and animal welfare regulations. This is all to satisfy the ever-growing demand for more meat. This is not modernization at all. The only modern thing that they're doing is providing new stunning practices that are not fully proven to work it. Which in turn, I believe this just proves that all they really care about is time, money, and energy. There are no means to provide more safety towards our food and no care for the animals. Our support is the last factor. In the eyes of processing plants, we play a major role as the consumers. We buy their products and expect more of it. The USDA has several advertisements on their meat like organic, grass-fed, USDA approved. But they fail to mention that all their animals are slaughtered at the same slaughterhouses. Since the USDA plays the role of inspectors, that, as I mentioned earlier, have failed to be completely true. Basically, these U.S. meat corporations are left to decide what is humane enough for these animals. For example, a PETA journalist says, another worker, Martin Fuentes, told the Post that many animals are still alive and conscious for as long as 7 minutes after their throats have been cut. The line has never stopped simply because an animal is alive. Because the industry makes more money the more animals it kills. These low-income workers are fully aware of what goes wrong in the slaughterhouses, but they fear saying anything at the loss of their jobs. More closely, as quoted from an article on PETA.org, because the industry makes more money the more animals it kills. Workers who stop to alert officials to abuses at their slaughterhouse risking losing their jobs. The meat industry thrives on a workforce made up of largely impoverished and exploited workers. Many of them immigrants who can never complain about working conditions or cruelty to animals for fear of being deported. America's processing plants are starting to get overrun by demand. The USDA is desperate to find new ways to increase their supply while cutting costs, and that means new horrors to the animals and more risk towards our food safety. Our government needs to take action for USDA's lack of regulation. The government can easily regulate a lot of things that go wrong in the slaughterhouses. There must be more regulation. We must be ensured that the meat we eat is as clean as it can be and animals are suffering as little as possible. Know what you eat and learn what really goes on behind the next package of steak you buy from your local Albertsons. Educate people close to you and these horrors and find ways you can lessen this massive meat demand in America. Stop. Okay, I'm gonna read that again. Know what you eat and learn what really goes on behind the next package of steak you buy from your local Albertsons. Educate people close to you about these horrors and find ways you can lessen the massive meat demand in America. Remember, these meat producers fear exposure. Thank you for your attention.